All right, as we're going through this, I'm just gonna turn my mic off. That way I'm not
Uh-huh.
accidentally messing up the audio, but the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess we can get started when just talking about oracles in general and why they're needed. So if you think about what a blockchain is, it's basically an isolated network which only makes use of data that's available on chain. So an analogy we have for that is basically like how a computer can only really use that data that's stored on its own device without a sort of without an internet connection. So similarly, blockchains without some sort of connection to outside data, there's no real way that they're able to use data like price data, weather data, all types of data that DeFi protocols actually um, are required to actually work and run for enabling lending, liquidations, all the other fun stuff that you do on DeFi. So one of the things that oracles try to do is essentially do this in a trustless way. So you can obviously pretty easily put data on chain. Let's say if you're a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance, you can just deploy a smart contract, post all your price data onto there, and then people can consume it. And there you go. You put off-chain data on chain. Obviously, the problem with that is that's pretty much goes against the whole idea of having a trustless and decentralized system. Just because the only person posting that price data is, like I said, your Coinbase or your Binance or whoever wants to do this hypothetical scenario. Um, but the idea of an Oracle protocol, so specifically something like Ojo, which is a layer one Cosmos SDK chain, is yeah, pretty much having a layer one blockchain that's whole purpose is processing price data um, through a trustless and decentralized manner using a validator set and a couple other tools, which I'll go over in a bit on how that's actually done. But yeah, that's the basic idea of why we need oracles. It's just a way of taking off-chain data like pricing data and many other things, which at least for now, obviously Ojo is more focused on pricing data, and so DeFi protocols can consume it in a safe way. But in theory, Oracle data can be anything from price data to weather data to social data from different social media applications and yeah, anything that really isn't available on chain on chain can be put on there with an Oracle. So let's go into this next section. So um, yeah, so there's obviously a couple limitations that are exist currently with using oracles in the Cosmos ecosystem. So one of the things is it's pretty difficult for um, a new Cosmos SDK chain, let's say it's a DeFi protocol, to just get up and running with their own Oracle implementation. Just because I mean, yeah, it is. It's not an easy thing to do, and there's a lot of risk involved with that. So one of the um, basically value props of Ojo is having that um, essentially accessible through one decentralized chain so that they can consume that data without having to implement their own Oracle. So, and yeah, one of the things that we provide, as well as actually access to more smaller cap assets through different, um, uh, uh, yeah, basically different technologies we have in place with our smart Oracle with historical data, as well as spinning up our own indexers, which essentially allows us to post more smaller cap assets like Osmo, Juno, uh, Umi, basically the stuff that's a lot harder to get accurate and unmanipulated price data, unlike BTC rate, which has way more liquidity than all those smaller cap assets. Um, and then we have reliability. So obviously, the idea is we want this data to be reliable and um, from reliable and recent, basically. So we have, our validator set works with a 3-second voting period. So every 3 seconds, new data is posted on our price feeds, and then as well as relayed onto the different smart contracts on whichever chain is confusing it. I mean, I'll go over into how that basically how you can consume that price data through Cosmos and smart contracts. But yeah, that's pretty much it on reliability. I think this we can skip. There's nothing really there. So accessibility, yeah, I mentioned since it is a layer one Cosmos XGK chain, it's compatible with IBC and EVM and MoveVM chains. So basically, the only thing that stops that is our ability to actually deploy on these ecosystems, which it is able to based on IBC and all these different integration tech that already exists out there. So pretty much any chain that we deploy either our smart contracts or our relayers to has access to Ojo data. And then, yeah, this sort of just goes into what I was talking about earlier with the smart oracle technology. So one thing that we do is that we don't only post price data, so we also have a track of the essentially median data from the past. I believe it's 48 hours at this point, but that's something that can be changed through governance. So basically, you have access to the median prices for the past 2 days, and that's something that if you're a DeFi protocol, you can utilize that data for preventing market manipulation, specifically with the more smaller cap assets, since it's a lot easier for a whale to start manipulating prices with those. But with median data, you can essentially prevent stuff like liquidations and all types of wacky stuff that can happen onto your DeFi protocol if there's a bad actor essentially manipulating the price of an asset. Data sources. So our actual data sources is something that's handled by the price feeder, which is basically an extra service that a validator in our network runs for connecting to different pricing APIs, whether that's centralized like exchange APIs for pricing data for them, but or also blockchain indexers for indexing data from decentralized exchanges like Uniswap or for example Fin on Kujira. Basically, we also spin off at Ojo. We've created a few indexer APIs that actually reach into these different decentralized markets for pricing data. And yeah, I have a diagram later which shows the whole flow of price feeder to validator to contracts. But TVWAP, so this is time weighted average prices, just another safety mechanism we have in for making sure that our price data is accurate and unmanipulated, as well as data filtering. So our validator set also has a set of parameters it uses for filtering out any erroneous prices that are deviating far from the mean price that the other validators are reporting. So that's just another safety mechanism for making sure that it's that we're providing actual accurate price data. Trustless. I mean, yeah, this is pretty obvious, being that it's Cosmos SDK chain. So obviously, it works through a proof of stake consensus protocol, and yeah, the idea is we'll have a giant validator network all reporting prices for different assets, and rather than in the beginning I mentioned that theoretically rather than have an oracle, you can just have one person posting data to a smart contract, but obviously that doesn't achieve this trustlessness and decentralization that we're actually going for with an oracle. And I think that's mostly it. Oh yeah, this is just another blurb about I mentioned right now we're focusing obviously on just price data for other DeFi protocols to consume. But theoretically, I mean, yeah, this can be any type of data that you can provide with an oracle, from social data, environmental data, even price feeds for other financial assets outside of crypto. So we've even experimented with that a bit. So we have on our price feeder a provider for actually fetching forex exchange rates. It's not getting relayed anywhere to our contracts at the moment, but it's sort of an experimental thing we have in the back burner for um, actually providing pricing data for assets like different forex currencies or gold or silver and whatnot. So yeah, I mean the sky's the limit as far as what type of data we can provide. Okay, yeah, so that's just going through our docs over an overview of yeah, why we need oracles and how our oracle actually works. I do have some other visual stuff that might make a little more sense um, coming from our white paper. So, for example, this is the overall flow of how um, pricing data actually gets posted to a smart contract on whichever network that you can consume for Oracle prices. So this is one way of gaining data from Ojo. So the this is the overall architecture of the Ojo network. So you have these different price providers. So Binance, Coinbase, um, those are the centralized exchanges that are providing WebSocket APIs for their pricing data. But we also have um, different indexers up for different protocols like Osmosis, Kujira, for getting price data from there as well for some of the smaller cap assets that actually aren't on Coinbase or Binance. But the main idea is these the different pricing data from all these different sources gets posted onto a tool that the validators are running. So it's called the price feeder. So that price feeder is consuming all that pricing data and then generating different vote and pre-bid messages that all the validators are essentially using to vote on prices and reach some sort of consensus for what the price of a given asset or list of assets are. So that's yeah, so that's how it gets posted onto our Oracle on the Ojo chain. But then the next part of that is, we have all this pricing data on the Oracle module on our Ojo chain. Um, how does another chain like Secret Network or Archway or Juno or whoever actually consume the data? So one way we do that is by deploying smart contracts onto these different chains. So we have, at this point, data on the Ojo Oracle. And the way that we actually push that out to these new chains is by relaying that price data on just different smart contracts that we have deployed on these chains. And I'm sure there'll be a link for this somewhere, but basically, if you look at our where we have the code for our contracts as well as our relayer, we have a table here for all the different deployments that we have yeah, for each network. So we have, Archway, Comdex, different test nets, Osmosis. Basically, you can use these smart contract addresses and run some WASM queries on it. If you want to see the type of queries you can do, you can just go into our Cosm WASM folder here. So you'll see the actual um, contracts themselves. So and a source for it, and then we have a schema folder for different queries. So, for example, this getref query is what you'd use. You'd pass in a symbol is what you use for the price of whatever asset we have. So that's yeah. And if you need to see where our different contracts are deployed and which networks you can actually get price data on. But that's the general flow. So yeah, we have relayers up that actually are posting this price data onto these contracts, and I think we have another diagram that is a little bit Yeah, it's a little bit more zoomed in. But yeah, once the Ojo Oracle has this data, it's essentially sending out a relay transaction that's posting it into our already deployed smart contracts on whichever network. So in this figure, we have, Juno or Ochoy. Um, and yeah, that's the basic gist of it is, once these smart contracts are up and getting data, any type of DeFi protocol um, on this network, so when they're in this Juno box, can actually consume it through there. And again, check out our contracts repo here for um, one, where these different smart contracts are deployed as well as their addresses, and um, and then yeah, you can look around through the contract code and schema just to actually be able to generate those queries. Um, but yeah, I think I can pretty much stop talking here. Yeah, that's a general, overlook of, uh, how Oho works and how it's actually posting data onto these different smart contracts that we have deployed out there, and how you can go ahead and query some data from them as well for whatever project you're building.
Awesome. Uh, Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Um, so obviously for this perpetual swap exchange that we're building for this hackathon, we're going to be building it on Secret Network Testnet, and you guys do have uh, oracles launched on Secret Mainnet and Test.
Yep, right here, secret mainnet and testnet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are yeah, just come to this, um, read me here, and then yeah, you'll find the addresses for both.
So one of the reasons we wanted to have Oho join this workshop panel for the hackathon is because I know you guys are seeking to become the kind of the interchain Oracle solution. I know there are some other products out there like Band. Um, have you guys had any teams reach out and want to use you guys for redundant services rather than like as the primary uh, Oracle solution?
Yeah, I mean, I know, um, Labana, we're, working on providing pricing data um, for their upcoming, perpetual swaps protocol. And they have, um, I think right now they're on Osmosis, Injective, and Say, which is why we've, recently done a push for those deployments. And yeah, I believe they have their own Oracle solution already as well, but I think they're looking for us for price data um, on these different networks. Since yeah, with Oho it says, since we already have the infrastructure built for getting a lot of the assets that they have on their app, as well as actually getting that data to the chains that they're using. I think that's a big reason why they wanted to, essentially partner with us um, to get some of this data that they're using.
Yeah, especially because they offer high leverage trading for smaller cap assets, and so having a Oracle solution that can specialize in providing some of these smaller cap asset price feeds seems like a really natural match.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of these assets are, um, they're only traded on one market, or it's like a staking derivative that's, you need you can only get the price of by going to this decentralized exchange. So it's a lot harder to get data for that one. It's not something that's, you can easily just query like a Binance API or a Coinbase API for. There's, plenty of other infrastructure that we need to build in-house, like, different indexers and stuff to actually get that. And that's um, one of the value props of Oho is, since we have a lot of that built already, is you can just essentially query, a smart contract that we can pretty much deploy on any WASM enabled chain. So, whatever chain you want to get that from, it's up to you. We can more than likely do it. Um, and yeah, you have access to, all these price feeds that otherwise would have been, um, way more upfront work to actually get prices for.
That's awesome to hear. I know Shade is looking forward to integrating Ojo for some of its other leverage products like our upcoming private money market, and also with the expected launch of a private perpetual swap exchange later in 2024. We'll be looking to leverage Ojo's uh, price feeds as well for a perpetual swap exchange, similarly to how Levana does. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to give us an overview of Ojo's oracles, how they work, and some of their nuances. If individuals have any questions, I added you as a hackathon mentor in the chat. So if anyone has any questions about Ojo's oracles, I'll just let them know that they can tag you in the Discord, and I'm always happy to ping you separately, just as a reminder, in case some time goes by.
Yeah, definitely, man. No problem. Awesome. Yeah, if you need any of the links to this stuff too, just let me know. I'll send that over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, I'll send you all this actually. Yeah, so
Okay.
the docs that also has some extra integrate. It has actually that same table,
Hmm.
I believe. Yeah, that's on
Sweet.
that contracts one. So yeah, these are contracts. And then yeah, these are just the docs I went over. So I'll send you this, our white paper, which is that's also on just our regular um Ojo repo.
Okay.
And then yeah, the contracts just in case someone wants to go into these for the different yeah, to see what type of queries they can run.
Sweet. Perfect.